Hello, friends, and welcome to the 114th episode of Snap Judgments. As almost always, I'm Roy Rogers, and joining me is my friend and yours, the one, the only, the walking, talking LLC of Snap Judgments itself, Aaron Glazer. Aaron, my friend, it is so lovely to be back recording this with you right now, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. As an LLC, I'm the only one in America that still has free speech. So that's like everything's just going absolutely stellar right now at the corporate offices of Snap Judgments LLC.
Yes, well, as part of the blood of the working class powering this machinery, I'm happy to be back this week. I'm gonna just say one thing here at the front because I do edit all the episodes, even the ones I'm not on. I'm constantly being slandered by Aaron about bringing up the weather at the beginning of every episode. So I'm not going to do that here. Instead, I'm going to ask you, Aaron.
It's a snowy.
You brought that up. I did not. I am a simple working man, yet and my rights are being trampled by this giant corporation. But Aaron, whose labor are you going to exploit this evening for our podcast?
We are joined by Marvel Rivals and formerly Marvel Snap's greatest streamer.
Oof.
It is the new card guru. He just shows up when there's a new card, folks. That's what he's here for now. It is the one and only Pirate King Tuccrr. What's up, Tuck?
What's up? New card guy here. But we all love the new cards. We come for the new cards, but you guys come to this channel every single day for the new decks and for the meta report. So you guys need to keep coming to this channel for that reason. Huge shout out to Snap Judgments, and thank you guys for all the continued support on this channel. I know they appreciate it. Just allowing Glazer and Roy to be able to keep doing this, it is absolutely incredible.
Tuck, our friends need to find you. When you're not playing Marvel Rivals, where can they find you playing Marvel Snap? Sorry,
I'm going to make that joke like 7 more times. Every Thursday and every Friday, I will be at least starting stream playing Marvel Snap on Twitch. That is going to be Twitch TV/Tuccrr. You can also catch the YouTube videos on youtube.com/Tuccrr as well.
That is Tuccrr, because no one who didn't know you before, I can't imagine they didn't know you, right? Like anyone, you've been in so much of our damn content at this point that they should absolutely know how to spell this. But like, there's somebody here who's just like, what is this Marvel Snap podcast? And they're like, Tuccrr, Tucker, and they're like, this person doesn't exist. Yep. Tuccrr, because he's a pirate and he just R's, and that's how we got that name.
All right. So Tuccrr, real quick. This is also for all of our YouTube commenters who like to post the link of how long it takes us to start the episode. So I'm just going to run the time.
Yep. Filibuster.
So is the second half of the Fantastic Four in Marvel Rivals yet? Or are there no Thing and Johnny yet? Is it still just
another probably 2 weeks or so, and then they'll be added.
Okay. Because that Fantastic Four trailer was quite fantastic.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But do you know what's equally fantastic? Our account on everybody's favorite propaganda website, X, formerly known as Twitter. You can find us there at SnapJudgeCast. We are incredibly grateful each and every week to be the official podcasting partner of Marvel Snap Zone. They have an absolutely great website, the best place to get your Snap news. Of course, Aaron is back there writing, but also many friends of the show. Den, Lauren, our contributors, past contributors. We are so grateful to be their official podcasting partner. Our email, the snail mail of the internet, is snapjudgmentspodcast@gmail.com. This is where I would also mention our BlueSky. But Aaron consistently does not put the BlueSky in the show notes. So what is the BlueSky, Aaron? I'm never going to remember it.
It's SnapJudgeGlazer. I've used it. I retweet things if you tag me. So
do you re-sky it? I don't know what they call it. I have a BlueSky account.
It's probably just reblog or repost.
Whatever, repost probably. Anyway, most importantly, where you're probably watching this, listening to this right now is, of course, on our YouTube channel at SnapJudgments Pod on YouTube, where 6 out of the 7 days a week, Glazer is out there offering Snap takes on everything and everything and anything, there we go, having to do with Marvel Snap. So, Glazer, if our loyal listeners would want to become our loyal viewers, what would they find on the YouTube right now?
Mostly me really needing a haircut, I'm noticing now as I'm looking at this. Outside of that, we've got a lot of decks, just like so many freaking decks. Oh, also, I broke down the everything we know about the new game mode and the seemingly 7 Series 4 and 5 cards that they're going to give us for relatively free. They're going to milk our time, but yeah.
Relatively, yeah. Yeah.
They either milk your time or you milk your money, so.
Or udders.
Or udders. Or udders. You know what's utterly fantastic?
Yeah,
our wonderful community at Patreon. So if you enjoy absolutely content like this, which I'm sure you all enjoying right now, we are currently at 5 minutes and 59 seconds for those listening at home. By the way, before we get to the quote-unquote content, you can support that content at Snap Judgments on Patreon. We are incredibly grateful for everyone who supports us there. For as low as $2, you can promote Snap Judgments. You can promote the leagues and other tournaments that Gunny does on the Discord. And of course, Snap Judgments is a reverse pyramid scheme where Glazer gives more money out to the community than he brings in. The way he justifies this expense on his credit card bill to his beautiful wife, to his amazing small child, is your support on Patreon. So if you want Glazer to continue to be his generous self and not get divorced, you should support the patron on, so it's his Snap Judgments on Patreon. All right, let's get in at 6 minutes and 54
one more
seconds.
Thing that we should probably plug. What? I stream every day on Twitch, twitch.tv/PulseGlazer. That seems like it's reasonably relevant. We also record the podcast live on there, so if you ever want to see it early, make sure you're on there. We don't do it on YouTube because that feels weird.
We do not do it on YouTube.
I'm a partner.
Twitch partner.
Yeah, but that was ridiculous. I didn't think that was going to happen.
Yeah. Yes. You know what's a great way to ensure that every time your Twitch gets mentioned is to put it in the notes where the social medias are shared. That way people remember to put them there.
Look, it's a miracle I remembered it. If we weren't on it right now, I would not have.
There we go. All right. Let's go with what people, again, here at 7 minutes and 40 seconds, what people really want, which is, of course, the season pass card for February. We're excited for the third Captain America movie, and so is Marvel Snap. And I am not joking when I say that I am excited for the new Cap movie. I'm really excited to be there opening day. Sam Wilson, is it Captain America Sam Wilson, or is it Sam Wilson?
It's Sam Wilson, Captain America, for sure. Mm-hmm. But okay. When is the movie come out?
Next week.
Oh, man, I really want to go this week. All right. Sorry, go ahead.
It is a Series 5 6K tokens once it leaves the season pass. Okay, it's a pretty complicated card. So let's start with, has a game start ability. It's a 2/3, to be clear. And Sam gives you, at the start of the game, add Cap Shield to a random location. Again, this is still Sam's text. Ongoing, you can move Cap Shield. Okay, so what does Cap Shield do? Cap Shield is a 1/1. Ongoing, this card can't be destroyed. Give your Cap +2 power when this moves to Cap's location. All right, just a quick question before we move the comments. Mm-hmm. Cap is both Steve and Sam.
Yes.
And any future card they print that says Captain America, like say they do a Bucky Captain America, right?
I mean, like maybe, okay. Right? Like hopefully.
Okay.
I hope they do a Bucky Captain America. That'd be really cool.
I mean, they got the design space now, so
yeah.
With the Doom was the first experience of this mechanic, right? Which is the sort of self-referential among different versions of character. Super cool. Tuccrr, besides this card being super cool, what do you think about it?
So at first I was kind of more on the line of like skeptical of this card, but like since doing like play testing of it, I think it actually is a pretty solid card. What I really like about it is it's not as narrow as I was thinking. Maybe I was just having tunnel vision with the card itself of just thinking you just play this in ongoing. You can play it like I was playing it in Zoo, but like just having the shield on the board to either give you some priority earlier in the game or even enable some of these like big dumb idiots interactions. And like there's just so many different ways to actually make usage of this without having to play Sam out himself too, which I really liked about the card. I actually like the card now, opposed to just being skeptical about it. So I think it's a pretty good card.
It's a good card. It's not amazing. We just hit a run of like a bunch of amazing season pass cards, right? Sam is the worst season pass card since Symbiote Spider-Man. It's probably better than Symbiote Spider-Man, but like it's the worst since then. It like because after that we had Agent Venom, Surtur, Galacta, and Iron Patriot, which is just one hell of a stupid run of Surtur's pass card power levels. He's fine. I don't know. I think he's fun-ish, but like he's really just sort of a 2/7. Right? Like, if you can play him remotely close to on curve, he's a 2/7. He's significantly worse the later you play him. Fine. Like, I don't know. As good as he is, I think you really want something to do with the shield to be playing him, whether that's ongoing, whether that's Cull Obsidian, whether that's Mockingbird. You want the shield to not just be, like, dead if you don't draw Sam. And it does make it somewhat vulnerable to Clog. But, like, it's still a good card. It's just not great. It's, I don't know, probably like the 10th to 15th best 2-drop in Marvel Snap. But like that's not a bad place to be. It's just a good card that will have its homes and it will have its decks. I wish it was a little like the design space is exciting, but the card itself isn't, if that makes sense. Like the idea of this is really cool. I don't know. I'm not excited. Like I'm excited to the first couple times I played, I was like, cool, I'm making the Captain America's big. And then after that I was like, yep, I got a 2/7 there, so let's just keep a 2/7 in my head and like move out into whatever else. And I don't know how I don't know that feels really great at the end of the day. But again, it's a good card. It's a card you like are happy to own and will put in decks. Like I think long term.
I third generally the opinion of you two. I think this card is super cool. I think it's like trying to capture a little bit of who Sam is as a character, but I think this card is like too fiddly for what you get, right? Like it has it has a game start ability, and then Sam allows you to move the shield, and then the shield's its own card, and it buffs any cap, which is super cool, but you got to move to the location, and it's also its own card. It's just like there's a lot going on in this card, and I don't know if like the payoff for like spending the brain power to figure out what this card does is really worth it. So like while on one hand, like I love that they've like really tried with this bouncing cap shield design space, and like, you know, if you have Steve and Sam in different lanes and you can move the shield back and forth, like that's super cool, right? Like you have them both like passing the shield and like helping each other, like that's super cool design and very thematic. But it's like, is it worth that? Like, is the way the sort of like fiddliness of this worth it for what you really get? I don't know about. I don't know. Like I don't think so. The question is, do we want this to be super powerful or do we want this to be super cool? I mean, we're coming off a month, like several months, as you've all said, of sort of cracked season pass cards. So maybe it's nice to take a breather of a card that's like super cool and super fun, but not like Lady Galactus that should be in every single deck, right? Or Agent Venom, who should have been in every deck before he sort of got tweaked, right? So maybe it's good to take a breather but the card's not unfun and it's not uncool, so you still want to own it. So like that kind of makes sense to me. But I think at the end of the day, the card is like just a tad bit of a disappointment to me because it's just so fiddly. And I don't know if the juice is 100% worth the squeeze, but I'm open to it being for both the reasons you'll both outlined earlier. To the end of the day, I'm glad this card exists. And I'd be interested to see the next time they do an iteration of like returning characters. Like the Doom was super interesting, like probably too powerful, but super interesting. This is also super interesting if maybe too fiddly. So maybe they could find something like in between if they come back, that Fantastic Four season, like, you get a new read or whatever, in the summer. We'll see what the summer is. Something like that. So anyway, that's my rambly little take on Sam. Are there other thoughts?
I have one question. Is the card actually, like, outside of the cull interaction, I guess, so for any deck but the cull interaction, is the card significantly worse if, like, instead of this weird new design space, it's just when you play Sam Wilson, add Captain America's shield to a different location?
Wait, does it trigger if you play it?
No. Is it worse if that were the case? Like, if the card is when you play Sam Wilson, add Captain America's shield to a different location. I think that might be better, and I'm not 100% sure.
Well, I mean, you're essentially getting a quote unquote free 1/1 here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Zoo, right, like where having that additional 1/1, if like you can come up with not having to spend the cost you pay for that 1/1 is putting Sam in your deck, right? Versus energy.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't really have had a card that does that before, right? Now you're making me like really think about it, right? Where
No, this
it
is the
says
only thing.
you get board presence just simply by putting a card in your deck. I think playing the card is actually worse because you are spending energy than not spending energy.
It's the same concept if you like spend the energy though, like just to get the Sam Wilson interaction, like because it, like what Glazer's saying too, like if you play Sam Wilson, it generates the card on a different spot of the board. Like to get the way you want to buff Sam Wilson, you still have to play him to be able to move him. But I also like see what you're saying, like with the Zoo interaction too, having the 1-drop on the board is good. And I think playing off of that, I think one of the main reasons why Sam Wilson is the way he is because of the new game mode, having to have like a card on the board to be able to potentially have an advantage on one of these lanes changing might be why they kind of pushed that narrative. But yeah.
Cool beans. Any other thoughts, feelings, attitudes?
Okay, nah.
All right.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's go on to the next card.
Next card. All right. Joaquin?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Joaquin Torres, Falcon. Much cooler in the MCU than his comic counterpoint. I'm just going to say that about this version of the Falcon. Series 5, 6K tokens, 3/4. Ongoing, the on-reveal abilities of your one-cost cards happen here, so only where he is, twice. Tuccrr?
I didn't honestly play this card a lot yesterday to get like a lot of thorough testing. But what I thought was a really cool just like interaction with Joaquin, which this probably does also happen with Wong as well, is if you do Misery on the Joaquin lane, the cards do go off the additional 2 times as well, which is really cool before they got destroyed, which someone was trying to correct me on the other day. But like I was using this in Mill, which Mill didn't really need this help potentially, I would say, but it was really cool just to see that happen with this card. I'm still not very high on this card. Like this, when I was making the buy or bust for it too, was like really riding the line of like good to bad in my opinion. So I wasn't truly like, you guys totally should get this or no, you shouldn't, because the Spotlight Week also was interesting. But this card overall itself it's okay. I think I don't have any qualms with this card. It's just is kind of just niche, because it's 1-drops.
It needs to be a 2. It's just not good as a 3.
Yeah.
It's like really awkward to play as a 3. I've been playing it in a lot of stuff. It's good in bounce, which is nice, right? But even in bounce, it was clearly designed with the Redwing that they deleted from the game. Redwing was supposed to be a 1/2 on reveal, return a 1-drop here to your hand, and then give that +2 power. That's, I think, how this was designed, and that would make this one of the better cards in the game as a 3. But without Redwing, I think it needs to be a 2. It's just too awkwardly costed at 3. It can be a 2/2. I don't really give a crap. It's just like, I'm spending my turns around this. Bounce is the only deck that can really do that. I was playing in this cool Royal Mill Victoria hand thing. That was like, it's a cool deck, but like every time I played him, I was like, this is a luxury item of luxury items. This just doesn't feel like it's impactful or matters. I really,
Black Swan issue, right?
Yeah. I just don't want to play this card. Make it a 2 cost and then like activate next turn, right? I don't really give a shit. Like, but the way it is now, it's bad. I think like it's more bad than good. It's not like terrible, right? This isn't unplayable, but every card you play on Marvel Snap comes with a fairly severe opportunity cost because there are a lot of incredible cards, particularly at the 2 and 3 cost spot, right? Like if you're playing this and not Juggernaut, I think you're usually making a mistake. If you're playing this and Bounce and not Bishop, I think your deck might have a higher ceiling, but I don't know if it's better. It's just like, I think that this is probably not a good card, and it really upsets me because I really wanted to like this, but I don't.
That's a Black Swan like thing. You literally said like making it activate instead of the 3 cost like it was at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is one of those cards that they just printed over cost and they will tweak. I don't think they'll do the full activate redesign, but I think this might become like a 2/3 in some OTA in a couple weeks and see where that lands it.
Everything related to Falcon should be a 2/3.
I like that.
Yeah.
Falcon should be a 2/3. Sam Wilson should be a 2/3, and then new Falcon should be a 2/3. All of them 2/3s. Let's go.
Look, I'm all about that the elegance of that.
Right? Doesn't that seem
symmetry.
cool? That seems really cool to me.
I can see that. Yeah, I definitely didn't know off the top of my head the original Redwing that they had designed, but it does make sense. And they probably made those Redwing changes at the last second, if they didn't change this card. So it'll be interesting to sort of see where that ends up. I'm just gonna also say I actually do like the MCU version of the character, but the comics version is really boring. This card is kind of boring. I think we should just move on to the
one drop Wong. One drop Wong. Go ahead.
We have John Romita Jr., Makari, anime-ish Namora. I don't quite know.
Looks like she's about to throw that fish, which is my favorite thing about it.
Yeah,
like she's totally gonna whip that fish at somebody.
And really, I actually like this variant of the Falcon. I think it's very cool. I imagine it pops pretty well.
I got it.
Does it pop well?
Yes.
Okay. Thoughts, Tuccrr? About these?
I'm not super high on this Spotlight Week, even though Nomura did get a buff in the OTA, which was cool to see her go, up to a 5/7. But it's like if you're missing these cards, it's not a horrible week to open, just in the sense if you have the extra sets like resources. Not a week I'm saying like definitely go for it, open for these cards kind of thing. It's just kind of trying to be collection complete, maybe open, just not super high on the Spotlight Week.
So just to be clear, Tuccrr, you open
tokens
if
you're missing these cards and you're trying to be collection complete,
okay,
I'm not opposed to opening for it. Other than that, I would skip this week.
Okay. Glazer.
I like Namora more than most people, but even in Namora's Namora deck, she's the backup plan, right? Like White Tiger is the plan. And then if things go poorly, you're just like, all right, I might as well look, I'm 10 power there, sure. So I don't think Namora is very good, even as a 5/17. I think she requires too much of you. I think Namora could be like a 5/5, and just one card at each other location gets +5 power would be really cool. Like instead of them having to be alone, but they're not going to do that. They like they're like alone in a location design space. But I don't know. I don't really like Namora. Like I like Namora, but I don't really feel like people need Namora. I think Makari is a card that continues to get better and better. Just Surfer having the ability to say, okay, 6 power extra, thanks for no work, is pretty damn good. And Moon Girl really, really likes having the power and not having to worry about the Wasp bullshit if it's not running Hitmonkey. So, like, ultimately, I think it's a decent card. If you're looking to save spotlights, and there's plenty to save spotlights in March, we're not going to go over March, but there's plenty to save spotlights for in March. If you're looking to save for March, I think this is a relatively safe skip as of right now. I reserve the right, as always, to change my mind, but I've seen nothing with any of these cards that makes me go, you must have this
now. I think if you're opening, this is a decent week to be opening. The art is solid. The cards are solid but unspectacular. The main thing I love about Makari is continuing to prove that I have goated card evaluation skills, because I was high on Makari while everybody else was hating. But other than that, I think we're good to talk about another new card. All right. Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, now played by Han Solo, is a 2/2 Series 5 6K tokens. When your opponent ends a turn with unspent energy, draw a card with 10 or more power. Tuccrr, thought about a 2/2 draw engine.
So this card right now, with some of the best decks in the meta right now being Airshim and Sir Scar stuff, seems like just an automatic just plug in here, even if it's just to be a Red Guardian target, is pretty solid in my opinion. I think it's gonna be definitely like a kind of boring card in a sense of I just get big cards from this, and like I've seen people make the argument that it's just a worse Bruce Banner or it's just the exact same as Bruce Banner, whereas literally you don't have to do anything but put this card on the board and your opponent just misses energy and you're going to be okay. Yes, still there's Wiccan going around, but not every single person, unless you are playing on ladder, gets Wiccan to go off every single game. So I feel like the opportunity for this to be able to work for the deck you're building this card for is going to be a good card. So I am actually pretty high on this card overall. Of course, it's going to be a little bit more narrow in the decks you probably play it in, but for what it does give you the value.
This is probably the card of the month, right?
Yeah.
Like the Surtur decks are stupidly good. Thanks, Skata. And just like, what do we do to stop this? You better Red Guardian it, or you better have a perfect curve. And like, if you have a perfect curve, I played a 2/2. That's not the end of the world. It's not ideal, right? But since I'm dropping like 4 10s for the entire rest of the game, it's not the end of the world either. And like, even if my opponent does play all their energy, that's often going to lead them to playing suboptimally, playing an extra card or a more expensive card when they don't really want to. And that seems like it's really, really powerful in and of itself. I think that this is going to be fairly insane. I don't want it to be. I hate this card, for the record. This is shit design. There's like no draw in Marvel Snap, but let's give the big idiots deck some draw. Like, that's wild. Like, it's already one of the most consistent things in the game. But fine, it's going to be great. So I don't know. Get ready to see more Scar decks.
Yeah, I mean, this is the most powerful draw engine in the game, right?
I think so.
And I want to double down on what Glazer said there, though. I think that but either drawing a card or forcing your opponent to play suboptimally, unless they're playing Wiccan, and even after Wiccan goes off, there's freaking, like, post Wiccan, they'll sometimes have 1 energy left over, right? So while it may not pay off early, like, it can still do that, which is guarantee you have 1 to 2 final plays in the game, right, that are powerful, right? Either you're like if on turn 5 they miss an energy, right, the Wiccan deck, well then you're going to draw a big boy to play on turn 6, right? And so big boy or girl or person and that's ridiculous. So and then in modes, like, if we ever he'll probably end up being banned, right, if we get high voltage again, because
I hope so. No, I forgot about that.
So I don't know, kind of cracked. Yeah, I mean, whatever. I mean, there's Harrison Ford. I'm excited for the Harrison Ford variant, which I'm surprised is not the Spotlight variant this month. But when we get to Spotlight Cash in a second, we'll see, I think, why it's not Harrison Ford, because these are some cracked cards to be in a Spotlight Cash. But Tuccrr, thoughts about the art, thoughts about whether you open or spend tokens or skip this week?
Well, first and foremost, this is the first time Blink's been back in spotlights in almost a year now. So I think if you're missing Blink, this is already an open week for you. Nebula, if you're missing Nebula, it's another great week. She is Series 4 now, so it's not all 3 Series 5 cards like last week. This art is incredible. I think this Nebula has an argument to be potentially best Nebula until we get the Peach Momoko Nebula. And then the Thunderbolt Ross looks incredible. The Blink, I'm okay with the Blink. I like the Jasmine Magic Carpet Blink that we got last season more than this Blink. But of course, you had to own Blink at that point. But hopefully, appears in your shelf next day kind of thing. But I think it's a good Spotlight week. I think Thunderbolt. Wow, I can't even talk. Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross.
Thunderbolt Ross is his new name, just for the record. Thunderbolt.
Is going to be a solid card. I think if you don't like Big Dumb Idiots, then it's not going to be the card for you. But it's could be played in Sauron too. It's maybe not going to have the exact value. With the She-Hulk, Red Skull, the Typhoid Mary, Scar maybe is even in that list as well. So there's a couple different ways you can play this card. I think this is an open week. I think Nebula is still a good card. She's, been crept by some of these other cards, but still your opponent has to play on that lane. And if they're already playing potentially suboptimally because of, Daddy Ross over here, there's another reason to, do stuff like that. But yeah, I think it's a good week.
Glazer?
I don't like Nebula very much, I don't think, anymore. I just think she's power crept away. She's still a fine card, right? You're not super sad toner, but I don't think she's necessary. I want this Thunderbolt Ross variant and his ridiculous mustache. Ika is no longer the best mustache in Marvel Snap. Just saying that Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross has come and taken him out like he's the Hulk. And I'm getting to a point, and I'm not quite there, but I'm almost there to a point where I'm starting to think Blink is must have. It just keeps finding homes. It just keeps being a good card in various shows and various decks. Yeah. That what you're going to get, or you have a 50-50 on what you're going to get when you play her, is so strong. It's so strong. I don't know if I'm all the way there, but I think Blink is probably the best card in Spotlights this week. And if I'm right about Thunderbolt Ross, that's going to make this weekend open for anyone who doesn't own Blink at the very least. And we can always wait and see a little bit for Ross if he's not great. But I do think that draw good.
Yeah. I think this is one, as a pure aesthetic statement, I think is one of the strongest weeks of the month. If we're right about Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross, I think this is if you've got the keys open. Nebula, you may not love Nebula, but again, if you're a low collection player, does not hurt to have Nebula. You can just put her in a deck, right? I think it's also same true with Blink, right? If you just want to have these are both generically powerful cards, and the Thaddeus Ross is also really great. So I think if you're someone who say you own Nebula, but you don't own Blink, and you don't own Thaddeus, or you own Nebula and not, one of these cards, you're happy to get the variants, right? For the card you already own, right? There's some times where you're like, oh God, this Spotlight variant sucks. I already own the card too, so I don't feel good getting it. That's not the case this month. I think all three of these are really good art. So great week for Spotlights, I think, in general. All right, Redwing, the redesigned card Glazer mentioned earlier. This is a 3/3 Series 5 6K tokens bird. On reveal, return one of your other one.
No, that's not what it does anymore. That's the old one. Shit. What does it do now?
Whenever this card moves.
When this card moves. When this card moves, put a card from your hand to the old location.
Hold on.
It's first moves, though.
Is it first moves?
Yeah.
So you can't that's so shitty.
I absolutely love that Glazer here sets me up for failure. All right, I'm
going
to read the exact same text here from Marvel Snap Zone, by the way. So shout out to our
is it when this first moves? I want to see if we got it right.
3/3 bird. The first time this moves, add a card from your hand to the old location.
Hey, look, the two of us combined, we got it.
Yes. It took two of you to
well, Tucker's two
when
people
one of
all
you
by
could have
himself.
just
He's
pasted the appropriate text in here. So you know what? Glazer does not get to offer an opinion for this section because of the unforced L that he gave himself and the forced L he gave me. So Tucker, tell us how is this bird, which again is about moving and dropping cards into play.
The cards are the poop.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It moves and it poops.
That's true.
Yeah.
I mean, the ability is cool. I think it's still one of those things at the 3-cost slot. It just feels a little interesting in the sense, of course, we do have just a bunch of different move enablers now, and like the card lands, the location where Redwing just was. So it's random what it pulls out of your hand. So it's like a Doc Ock for you or a Sakaar for you in a sense, which is interesting. So you can either potentially deck build around this to maybe do some like Dracula dump kind of shenanigans, maybe. But I'm not super sold on this card just yet. Maybe we'll have some changes in the future to other cards to make me put this card a little bit higher. But I think the ability would have been so cool the way it was originally. But now it's kind of just okay. I mean, yes, I'm going to get a good hit here sometimes. I'm going to get a bad hit here other times. It's just going to be kind of like a RNG kind of dependent thing.
I like the Heimdall Scar decks. If I'm forced to play a Scar deck by weekend missions, let's be perfectly clear about how this happens. Sometimes weekend missions tell me I have to play a Scar deck, and when they do that, I prefer the Heimdall versions, which end up with a reasonably high win rate. I could see this as a thing for those versions because you pile everything right and center, and then you throw you make sure this is the far right. You throw a Heimdall into the right location when you play that Heimdall in the last turn of the game. Now you have 20 power in that location, and they had no idea where all your power went. Except that Redwing tells them you're running Heimdall, and now they can play around that. And I'm not sure that that's actually better than the way it is now, where like when you Heimdall, you can almost see them go, "What the did he just do?" Right? So I don't know. My guess is this card is going to suck. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm right, because if this is good, it might be a problem.
Yeah.
But I think that because it doesn't have built-in move, it's asking something of you that's difficult to do without Heimdall. Like, I don't think you're going to want to run a package of this and like Ghost Spider, right? Or this and Iron Fist. So that means you need Heimdall, really. Or a location, I guess.
Madam Web.
Do you want to play Madam Web, like, just randomly?
Yeah.
I don't think I do.
No.
So, like, it's just, I don't know, Dracula Dump that's now suddenly running Heimdall. Or Scar decks. And, like, I don't know if Scar decks have room. And I don't think Dracula Dump wants to deal with this bullshit. So I'm not sure here. I think this is probably not good.
I think that this card has the potential to be cracked. But it asks a lot of you. And the things it asks are in tension with itself that probably keeps it from breaking. But I think if someone figures out the right exact mix, the card can be very cracked. Right? Because it's asking you to have expensive cards that you want to put in for free and cheap move enablers that move Redwing. And you the worst thing in the world is, you draw one side and the other, or you only need one move enabler, but you draw two, and the move enabler is what the Redwing puts in, right? And you only get one shot at the Redwing effect.
It's Eminem?
Oh my god.
Did you get it? No,
yes,
got it.
I got it.
You only get one shot,
but yes. All right.
I broke Roy into pieces. He's falling apart here.
Well, it looks like this Redwing is going to miss his shot at the end of the day. But I don't even know what my point is at this point. I'm too tired.
Sorry.
But my point is that it's a card of tension with itself, right? And in my experience in Marvel Snap, in particular with the smaller decks, it is both less likely to be cracked, but when it does get cracked, it's extremely, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when, some streamer, like this person who streams at Pulse Glazer on Twitch,
advertising. It's why we pay the big bucks.
If they crack it, or then it's gonna be done. Like, because it's a powerful effect, the sort of show and tell style effect, right? If you know Magic or Into the Breach, you just slam a fatty down for free with no energy is just powerful, and dangerous. And the fact that Redwing can do that makes the card those things. It just is a card of tension with itself, which actually makes it a really cool design. Like, this card feels like a designer like really thought about this and like put some risk. So I'm excited to see what the payoff is here. Whether this is just a fun card, but go ahead, Tuccrr.
I said you can hit some clips with it.
You can. You definitely can. All right.
Does this potentially go like in Dracula Dump with Bullseye? Like use Bullseye to make sure that all that's in your hand is the big things?
Yeah.
And like Dracula grabs one, Redwing grabs one, you call it a day.
Yeah.
That is Ross draws your Heimdall.
There
seems
you go.
Very wombo combo-y. But
Glazer built the deck. All right. We've already broke it here live on Snap Judgments at Pulse Glazer on Twitch. All right. So this week, all right. I'm just gonna say it. This is some cracked, amazing variants. Tuccrr, what do you think? And also make sure you tell our loyal listeners whether it's buy with tokens, open, or pass.
So Baron Zemo's first time return to Spotlights, which is also really cool since he's also only been in a bundle a couple months ago. That was the only other way to get Baron Zemo. I wish I could be more sold on this week as a whole because, like, you know, it's 2 season pass cards and Redwing, but like Loki is just not in the same place anymore. Like if Loki was old Loki, this is immediately open Spotlights this week. Like, but like now it's like even in like Erisham, you're not really playing Loki anymore. It's like, I got it from Erisham. I have a really bad draw right now. Let's just change things up. Like this week is if you want Redwing, you don't have Baron Zemo, you open, but like other than that, it could be a just wait till the end of the week and see what people have built and see if that's actually something you want to play and then spend tokens, or you have an excess spotlights, spend spotlights. But like Glazer said originally, like March's spotlight week and everything is stacked. And, you know, we'll talk about that next month. But like, I would probably just wait until the end of the week before spending your resources, unless you're really wanting to be one of those people and play Mill right now, which, you know, every other person's playing Mill, and, you know, Baron Zemo is good in Mill. You don't have to have Baron Zemo per se for Mill, but he does really benefit the deck. It's kind of like Sebastian Shaw in the sense of, yes, that really does help Surfer, but you don't have to have Shaw in order to play Surfer kind of thing. So this is a wait and see, but like leaning more towards the don't spend unless you just are dying for these cards.
Almost entirely what Tuccrr said. I am convinced they're going to buff Loki. Like convinced. I've
God
apropos of nothing. I built a fiction in my head
God
where they're going to buff Loki.
God help us all.
Like Loki is, and like Roy's argument is often that like key cards in the MCU and stuff should be relevant partially because they're such good draws for people. And Loki is one of those, but it also gets people to spend money and resources because it's Series 5. So when you combine those two things and that the card just doesn't freaking exist, like it is an utterly non-existent card. I think that it is time to I think that it's time, and I think that they're going to buff Loki in some way. I hope it's just a redesign. I'm sick of this
Another
space.
one.
Like, well,
yeah,
it's only the second redesign. So like he's been nerfed like 6 times, but it's only the second redesign.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you just like get rid of the I get my opponent's cards at -1 cost, please, in some form or fashion, and just do something else with Loki, and let's have a cool Loki, and then everyone buys this, and everyone wins.
On an aesthetic level, this is the best week. I think this Redwing is super
level?
cool.
Sorry.
Aesthetic.
Oh,
yeah. The Loki's super cool with the hammer. I mean, this is gonna pop like no one's business. And look, if you're gonna have a Nazi on a card, a goofy Nazi version of that being a Mickey Mouse, I think it's like 30s animation reel style is like about where a Nazi like Baron Zemo should be. So, yeah, it's hard to complain. I think, again, if you want Redwing, open. Like, you will not regret these cards. They're cool, they're thematic, and the art is really good. So, but I think Redwing is actually the thing that's really holding it back more than any other. So I think this is a risky open. But if, you know, again, if you are watching the streams at Pulse Glazer, he breaks it, and Redwing is amazing. you're gonna see me burning my spotlight caches that I got from the U.S. government shutdown, Marvel Snap, on these cards because I own both of those cards, but I really like these variants. Like,
I'd also just like it noted that birds are not our friends.
It's true.
Thank you.
They're not.
They're not.
But all right.
Our last spotlight card, but not our last card.
All right. We've got a 3/3 Series 5 6K Kokens Diamondback. Is she one of the villains in the movie? Is that why she's in this? Ongoing enemy cards here afflicted with negative power have -2 power. Tuccrr?
I think, I like this ability for, affliction decks. I think that's really cool just to add the extra layer to it. I think when this card is in spotlights, it's just going to be Luke Cage meta again. Like, it's just going to be Luke Cage all week. So her first initial week of being released is going to be pretty tough for her. But as soon as she is out of spotlights, this card's just value just increases. Like, there's more than one way to actually have afflicted negative power, even if it's just a location. Just having this, playing it into like a negative zone or sewer, afflicting card with an additional -2, and it's every single card for the enemy in that lane is pretty cool. And it's not just targeted affliction like a US agent or like a man thing, which is really nice to see. I think this card has a lot of potential as well. I still think like it's towards the middle of the spotlight cards for this season, but I think it's going to have some really solid potential.
It's a 3/7 to a 3/11.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's almost no way, unless your opponent has Luke, obviously, right? Unless your opponent has Luke, it's a 3/7 to a 3/11. That's a lot of power. Like, this is going to be amazing, except that Luke Cage exists. So, again, the first week, we're going to get no useful data out of this card. We're going to be like, oh, well, they released a card that no one can play, or everyone is playing the counter to. Because, like, yeah, I don't know. This card's going to be, like, completely bonkers. And I have the extra spot in my decks. My affliction decks are running just a casual blink for no readily apparent reason at this point, because there's just an extra card slot. I'm sick of running Hydra Bob and things. So, like, all right, cool, Diamondback, boom, done, deck, happy. And then there's another card that's going to go in that deck, and I'm probably going to have to figure out what to cut from there. But, like, this card's going to be really good. If they actually break Luke Cage, this will be the best card of the month. Like, if they break Luke Cage such that, like, this, like, Afflict becomes harder to counter, there's not just this one simple catch-all, and they claim they're going to, then all of a sudden we are, this card is, like, I think broken. But I don't know if they're actually going to do that or if they're just making noise about it. Also, if they break Luke Cage, everyone's not going to buy the, like, 6,000 token replacements for Luke Cage, right? Like, the half a Luke Cage that costs 6,000 tokens. Well, everyone can have Series 3 Luke Cage, which is going to further make Affliction decks completely insane. And I think Diamondback will, at that point, be one of the best cards and one of the best decks in the game. For now, she's a good card that is easily countered.
I don't think either of you are wrong. There's just a part of me that feels like this card is going to end up being shown to be overcosted. It just feels like she's just slightly too... I feel like this is a 2.5 energy card to me, particularly with Luke existing and the sort of the risk that you get into playing her. And they round it up versus rounding down.
That's a good decision, I think.
I think it could end up being a good decision, but I think she may end up being just kind of underwhelming. I could be wrong. Like, I'm really, I don't have a definitive opinion, but this card in its effect smells slightly below playable. That's my main take.
Fair enough.
In a way, it's kind of like Man Thing took some time to tweak with like a OTA buff or whatever before he was played. That's where I think this is.
I got one more cool thing about like Diamondback 2 for some like these early collection level players. People are still playing, Toxic Surfer, and this is another Toxic Surfer enabler, which is really cool in the 3 card cost slot in that sense.
True.
And I think, like what Glazer was saying, like with the cards that are also potentially coming out, or not potentially, that are coming out, like you get value potentially with, LaFay and, there's going to be just some interesting combos. But yeah, first week is just going to be, oh, I got it to work this one game, and then the next 5 games are Luke Cage. That's just the thing.
Pro tip, by the way, if you're in that meta, save your Luke for last turn, use it for snapping equity.
Yeah.
And if you're going to play it early, for the love of God, play it in the same lane with a 1 power thing. Because otherwise, Red Guardian's going to be like...
Mm-hmm.
And then Diamondback comes down and Red Guardian gave you -4. Oops.
All right, Spotlight caches have a Phoenix Force, a Nimrod, and a Diamondback. I have an extremely hot take about this week. Tuccrr, why don't you go ahead, though? I'll save the hot take for last.
So it's really interesting, okay? So, like, when it comes to Spotlight weeks, for the most part, not all the time, like you've seen some of these other weeks, the cards synergize together, okay? So, like, they want to have light cards you can potentially play with a new Series 5 card. And it's not always the case, but you've seen that in multiple weeks. So it's really interesting seeing Nimrod and Phoenix Force with Diamondback, because there's no synergy with the Diamondback and the other 2 cards, but the other 2 cards go well together. I love this Nimrod. This Nimrod is my favorite Nimrod in the game. Or I guess going to be in the game. Which, like, they're 2 Series 4 cards with a Series 5 card, which also means, for the most part, when you see stuff like that, the card they're pumping out in the spotlights should be generally a good card. That's why they're doing the Series 4 cards. But, like, if you're missing Phoenix Force, that is an incredibly good card to have into your collection and a good archetype for you to learn how to play. It does take some time to learn. Of course, right now, it could even still, I know if you watch Jeet at all, Jeet plays Phoenix Force with any sort of archetype and just plugs Phoenix Force in there and finds a way to make it work. Or Jet, I think it's Jet, sorry, my bad. And then Nimrod, you can play into the Phoenix Force decks. It's still playable kind of in Destroy, but, like, there's still big dumb idiots. There's Armor, Cosmo, Shadow King still running around. So it isn't the safest time to play that yet. If you're missing these cards, I think Diamondback is, like we said, a good card just to have in your collection after the first week, because the next week she's just going to increase in value. And if they change the stuff with Luke Cage, I think this is an open week for spotlights, in my opinion, especially if you like the art as well. I like this week.
I feel like Phoenix Force isn't worth the squeeze anymore. Like, until they actually nerf bounce properly. Or sorry, not bounce, move properly, right? Like, I'm doing a lot of work to get a Phoenix Force off, and I need exact draws, and if it doesn't happen by turn 4, I'm dead. Meanwhile, I can play a move deck and just not do anything until turn 3, turn 4, and be like, okay, cool. I still got 40 power things. Thank you. Like, I don't know if Phoenix Force is still worth the squeeze. I get it. I just feel like the game may have power crept it away, which is kind of sad, because I really like Phoenix Force. Nimrod doesn't exist. Like, we can pretend Nimrod exists if we want. But, like, Nimrod is like, someone plays Nimrod, you're like, oh, yeah, that's a card that exists. Right? Like, whatever. I'm not going to humor Nimrod. So, like, that Phoenix Force and Nimrod are the cards that are here, suggests to me that Diamondback is going to be incredible.
That's fair. Human says to me that Diamondback's not going to be incredible. This spotlight art for her is fucking awful. It's so bad. Like, honest to goodness, worst card of the month, and one of the worst in a while. Like, absolutely.
You know what it reminds me of?
Like, kind of pop on her hand.
Wait,
but that's
it's like
literally it.
The League of Legends show. What's the League of Legends show on Netflix?
Do not
Arcane.
insult the art.
But that's what it's going for. But that's what it's going for.
No, that is.
It's not succeeding. That's what it's going for.
Do not slander my French friends.
The super rare is good though. So skip the spotlight variant. Go for the super rare.
That's fair. Anyway, absolutely ugly. Do not open this week. If you want Diamondback, spend tokens. We don't need yet another beautiful but generic Phoenix Force. It's a cool Nimrod, but get it whenever it comes back in the whatever vault or whatever later. So.
We don't know how these come back. All right, now the next bunch of cards, and they're all Series 4 3,000 tokens, or I think I missed that for one card, just fair warning. These are the cards that we can get from our new game mode, which is called Sanctum Showdown. We're not going to cover Sanctum Showdown now. We'll cover it when we have more details. I already did a video, and I don't want to just repeat myself on it. If you're interested, go check out that video on the channel. But we get 3 Series 4 cards from Sanctum Showdown, or potentially 3 Series 4 cards from Sanctum Showdown. The first is
Uncle Ben, a card that has been rumored since I feel like I've been started playing this game, existed in the Snap fan and Snap Zone databases. He's a 1/2. with the most fucked up text of any Marvel Snap card. When this card is destroyed, replace it with Spider-Man. Like, come on, man. Like, I'm sorry. This card, I'm just going to start here. Sorry, Tuccrr. This card feels like Ben Brode, like, wrote this on a whiteboard, and everybody laughed. It was like, oh, yeah, we should put that in. Some programmer, like, programmed it, and they're just like, wait, can we release this? Like, is this really, like, something we want to be doing? But it is what it is. What do you think, Tuccrr?
I mean, I think it's a card, and destroying it and getting Spider-Man turns from a 1-2 to a 2-4 that moves another card. That's cool, but it's just like, it's the feeling I felt like when Lasher was in a game mode, when King Eitri was in a game mode. It's like, oh, this is just another card for me to add to my collection that I'm getting for grinding out this game mode. That's kind of just what it feels like to me.
So, I just want to note, Lasher's actually pretty good. People don't play it, but Lasher's a good card. And like the Namora decks, it's genuinely a serious upgrade in those decks. Like, you're just playing it as a 2-4 to 2-6, which means it's playing as a 2-12, right? Like, it's really, really solid. Lasher gets slept on because all the other Series 4s they gave us around then sucked. So, like, everyone's like, Lasher must suck too. But, like, Lasher's decent, and then, like, yeah. Like, Lasher with Galacta ends up being really solid. Like, it's a decent little card. It's not the best thing in the game, but it's better than people think it is. It's also an afflict card that goes in a buff deck, so it's a little, like, awkward. Still, very good card. Defending the terrible green symbiote. It's honor. Yeah, I just had to bring up symbiote so Roy would cringe again.
Always.
So, if you are running Scream and Killmonger in a deck, I think you throw Uncle Ben in. That's its home. Like, if you're already running those two cards, and there was a deck for a while, like just a regular old deck, that ran both Scream and Killmonger, and it just also happened to have Kingpin. You just take Kingpin out and you throw Uncle Ben in, and you're fine. Like, that's it. That's what it's for. I don't think it goes anywhere else. I don't think it's even necessary there. But, yeah, that's how you murder your Uncle Ben.
Just what Spider-Man was 3-5, because then you could actually play it in Surfer.
Fair. This Surfer card be so good. Oh my god.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong.
It's really sad, though.
The real reason they changed it.
Really sad. Sorry. That the most recognizable card of the characters for the free ones that we're getting is Uncle Ben. Like, they really did scrap the bottom of the barrel for, like,
it's literally whatever they
print.
have lying around.
It's like, anyway, you all said what you guys say. Let's talk about Gorgon. A character that I honestly do not know who Gorgon is. Like,
Wolverine enemy.
Of course he's a Wolverine enemy. I can count the number of solo Wolverine comics I've read on my hand in, like, on two hands.
I think he might actually be like a Mark Millar Wolverine enemy to really get your juices going.
Oh, that's so much better. He's a 2/3. He's Series 4, correct? Not Series 5?
He is Series 4. Everyone's Series 4, sorry.
Okay, just to be clear, more typos. Trying to avoid the unforced or enforced L's here. But he has the ongoing...
I'm forcing.
Your opponent's cards that didn't start in their deck cost 1 more. Maximum 6. Tuccrr, do you hate Arishem enough to play this card?
Yes.
No hesitation.
Yes. But I think this is a necessary evil potentially for, like, even the Iron Patriot kind of shenanigans that has been happening since, like, last season. Like, it was data mined, a couple months ago as well, but of course, it takes whatever time to get released in the game, and they didn't want to have this fun police in the game as well. And you compare this with Moonstone too, which I would do that against Arishem any day of the week. But I like this card. Whenever character mastery comes out, I'm gonna try and get level 30 character mastery on Gorgon here. So that's what I'm gonna try to do there.
It's gonna be
exactly
100% variance.
I know, but I hate Arishem so much. I want to prove it.
But, like, you own Darkhawk and Cassandra Nova, right?
Yes.
Like,
yes. And whenever I play them, I never get Arishem. So it's
you just really
welcome to Gorgon.
Played the most anti.
Yeah.
I mean, this also gets a Thanos. So
yep.
It gets a lot of cards. It gets a lot more cards than it seems like.
Yeah, that's very true. It gets all the rocks. They get
It gets
randomly put in your deck.
your demons.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the stuff that Victoria hand hits, right?
K Bishop,
So,
all this stuff too.
And your Thanos Stones and your Airstrom cards. That's like a reasonable amount of
stuff.
Swarms. Unfortunately, it doesn't make Swarms quite expensive enough to actually be the thing you want it to do.
Unless you have Mobius too, then they're 3-cost Swarms. Well,
that's just funny. Like, enjoy your Swarms being really undiscountable. Like, you're never playing these. Your hand is full. Play 2 Swarms on 6. Thanks. Bye.
Oh my god.
Don't do that though. Just play more. Just play Morbius. That's the real reason I don't like this card. It's just like I could play Morbius just fine. Thank you. Morbius should be a 3/4 just for the record. But yeah, this card, like, I think Uncle Ben exists more than this card does.
Where I'll disagree with you, Glazer, is I think a lot of people are going to want to play this card.
But they shouldn't.
Fair. But I think it violates a fundamental principle of game design. In many ways, that is one of where Cassandra Nova succeeds. Like, when Cassandra Nova came out, people really wanted to play that card, right? They were tired of Erisham. They were tired of a bunch of stuff. And she was also the villain of one of the most successful Marvel movies of all time. So you have a synergy of, like, a character that's in people's brains. People like, is a great X-Men villain. You should read New X-Men, one of the greatest comic book runs of all time.
Agreed.
And then you have Gorgon, another card that people want to play, particularly like newbies, low-end franchise players who just, like, really fucking hate Erisham. And they slapped it on a character that no one cares about. Like, Tuckr's sitting there, he's like, I'm going to grind out the character master. For what? How many designs does Gorgon have in his life? Like,
maybe have
truly, like, who cares? Like, why? Like, it makes me actively upset. Like, that this is such a desirable card to your median Marvel Snap player, and it's on this stupid character. And if he's actually made by Mark Millar, even stupider.
Should have made it bad.
So let's move on.
I think he might be.
Let's move on to the next one.
The next one's the one that matters.
It is the one that matters. It's also on a character everyone thinks about, Loki's dad, all the time.
I do.
With his,
whenever I see Loki, I'm like, I wonder who he came out of.
Laffy, or however you pronounce this.
I go Laffy. I have no idea.
Is a 4/5, Series 4, Glazer Slide Lies. On reveal, steal 1 power from each other card here. Oh, baby. Tuccrr?
We're getting another introduction of the steel text. So if you're also running Luke Cage in your list here, you play Luke Cage, like Glazer said, at the end of the game, so you can get the most power on this card before it gets taken away. And it affects both lanes, which is pretty cool for another card to be able to do that. This has really cool combo potential. And like Glazer said earlier, too, when we were talking about Diamondback, it's like another almost automatic plug in to just the Ajax Affliction stuff. It's just like trying to find the line of what to, like, swap out kind of thing. What's cool is, like, this is an amazing anti-venom target. I mean, almost anything's like an anti-venom target, of course. But this is probably one of the best cards of the season. But like Luke Cage, like we said, does exist, but I still think even with Luke Cage existing, like, this still is a great card.
Yeah, I think this is probably the best card of the season, period, bar none. Like, this card just seems utterly incredible to me. If you can play this ideally for 3 with Zabu, but even at 4 at the end of the game in a lane, right? Like, you're assuming at the end of the game, if you can throw prior, your opponent has 4 cards there. Forget your side. This is a 4/9 from your side, but it's a 4/13, right? Because it's also stealing the power from them and gaining it. A 4/13 is absurd. We just saw how much work people went to for Ares. Laffy's better, right? Because it can also hit your stuff, and then you can play Luke after it, and Laffy's going to keep his power, but Luke's going to, like if you can last turn Laffy Luke. Like, jeez. And God forbid that there's just a naked Diamondback sitting in that lane. And now, like, you're stealing 1 from each of them, but then they're also getting -3 each. You just completely swung a lane out of nowhere. This card is insanely good. I will stake everything on this being, like, a utterly fantastic card.
I don't disagree. I just want to remember how steel works with Luke's text now.
Nothing happens.
nothing happens, right? Well,
Mhm.
right. It still steals from your cards, right?
Yeah.
But it
Yes.
doesn't steal from. Okay.
But
Also,
if you play Luke later, he keeps his power, right? Like,
Okay.
Yeah.
the other cards will get their power back, but Laufey will keep whatever extra power.
Right,
he
because
got.
he's already stolen it. Yeah,
Mhm.
That makes sense. Okay. Yeah, I agree. The card's powerful. Good cost spot for an effect like this. He might become a 4/4 before we know it.
Affliction Ajax, not Ajax, Annihilus with Debris.
Yeah. Drop this,
Beautiful.
like play Debris, play Mysterio. Right?
Mhm.
Drop this on both. Say
Yep.
bye. Yeah, this card is really good. I don't know, like, I mean, they have to know how good this is, right? Like, this feels like, remember when Ajax was data mined as like a 4/4?
Mm-hmm.
We're like, that's probably a problem. And then, like, I feel like Laufey's not much worse than that.
It's just not global. But like what it does still is really solid.
But it enables itself,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like Ajax needs another card to happen. All Laufey needs is the opponent to play cards.
Yeah.
And no, not Luke Cage. Any card in the game that's not named Luke Cage. And I guess
Grandmaster it too.
Cosmo would be pretty bad for this, yeah.
You can just play Absorber Man.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's go. Deal with my massive, stupid 4 afflicts. Like, this card is getting nerfed, but okay. That is our last new card.
That's our last new card, so let's look at some old cards. With our variant of the week, our final segment. All right, we have the Alex Ross Cap on a Bike. Who picked that one?
I picked that one.
Okay.
Why?
So I love this Alex Ross art. Alex Ross actually has 2 different Captain America variants in the game, which is pretty cool. But like this one and the Wolfsbane, one of my maybe it's not even minute detail because the wheel is so big. I just really like that the wheel actually spins while it's animated in the background, and like it reminds me of, I think it was Age of Ultron, where he's riding off on the motorcycle in the very beginning of the movie, and like throwing the shield and everything too. I just get flashbacks to that as well.
Nice.
Glazer, why did you pick the sort of classic 40s Captain America? Although it's actually 40s,
it's Chris
right?
Samney. Yeah. It's Chris Samney's art. I think Chris Samney art is fantastic. I love Chris Samney. But also, this animated has like a grainy newsprint background thing, and I think it's the coolest effect in the game, period, bar none. This is arguably my favorite variant in Marvel Snap. It's unbelievably cool. I absolutely love it. I love it so much I didn't pick a Jack Kirby, and there's only like 2 or 3 Kirbys in the game, I believe. So yeah, this is fantastic.
The Evaders art, right? Isn't that a Captain America?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I picked this Captain America because it pops. Like when you upgrade this Captain America,
this is Joe Mads.
Yeah, Joe. It's I'm a notorious Joe Mads hater, but I think his style really, really fits this construction of Captain America, and it just pops like nobody's business. So,
Bless you.
All right, let's move on to Tuccrr. If our loyal listeners and loyal viewers were to become your loyal listeners and loyal viewers, what would you and they find in your content?
So I am back to playing Snap during the weeks. So you guys are not going to be missing out on Snap content for the entirety of the week anymore. But whenever I am playing Snap, it
only
is just
5 out of 7 now.
Only 5 out of 7. But it's just to hang out. We just all come together. We just hang out. We talk the entire time. Everyone is welcome and everyone is there. We all communicate with each other. Like, it's just hello. Oh, look, so-and-so's back. Oh, so-and-so's back. We're just a community. Like the Kingdom, we are here to support each other and continue to help grow Snap. Even if I'm not playing Snap, we're still trying to help Snap grow overall.
I think Tuccrr I don't actually know what verb tends to use, one of the top 2 or 3 Marvel Snap creators in the game, if not number 1. I absolutely love his Marvel Snap streams. It's where I lurk when I'm doing other things until I get too distracted because it's so engaging that I can't focus on my work and I have to leave. It's the best. You should 1,000% go watch Tuccrr play those Marvel Snap. And if you're the type of person who likes to jump in little circles while you go pew pew pew, then you should also watch his Marvel Snap, Rivals content, because that's exactly what Marvel's content is. It's you jump in a little circle around people and go pew 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 pew, and then someone eventually dies and then respawns.
That's true.
I mean, I will agree with Glazer is you get it all. If you watch Tuccrr, you get Marvel Snap content, wholesome Marvel Snap content. And for the Gooners in our audience, you can watch him play Rivals. So, like, the inarguably horniest multiplayer shooter in all of this. And this is, again, beating Overwatch, friends. So, let's move on to Glazer reading off our patrons, my favorite segment every week. Go ahead, my friend.
First, we have to shout out Ocularis, who won the Streamathon Gets the Special Shout Out during the Patreon section award. So props, Ocu. And then, ready? Abigail Gisela, Manager Burnout, Irregardless, LAB, Inc., I'm Frostman, Hoten Navarrete, Thinking Poker, Primed Ryan, Ryan Burke, Ryan Wood, Caretix Lee, Query, Kazuchi, Archangel 3K, Black Dahlia, Prayer First, The Goat Seeker, Hollowed, Only Fox Synth, Fat Nick, Dirty Casual, Mr. Kerfuffle, Cables, Ginger Prime, Philip Rackford, Chaplow, Kenny Loggins of the Danger Zone, Rob, The Bizza, Black Jeebus 23, Extra C and Skippy G, Jessica Gamble, Slush Death, The King of Bros, The Great Kazoo, Werewolf, Kepsi Hoda, Lunacris, Clam, Colonel Foreman, Rob Silverman, M. Holland, David G. Wingfield, Stephen, Brian Coffin, Tristan Martin, Jason B, Mr. Craig Sterry, Matt V, Ren Wrench, Gorwin, John Q, Jim McHugh, Yes Stout, 8 Sage, One Big Man, Milkman for Reals, The Great McFoley, Cactus Jack, BG, Zod, change of order. Quid Pro Joe, Snap Decision Joe, Models, Mod Supreme, The Green Goblin, Unibot, Flom 56, The Fuzzy Zone, Spectrum X, Hoot, MBTB, Shannon, Matt H, DJ, Mike Hitchings, No, Flex, Ocularis, nope, Ocularis is at the top now. Nick the Greek Geek, Zodrex, The King of Canada, Denman Falcon, Fothar Newman, Jonesy, Two Ties, The Great Lord Evs. Hey, Tuccrr, that's you. And of course, Gunny T, where the T stands for. I changed all the order when I had to make it 4 rows, and I'm still getting used to having it memorized.
That was one of the sloppiest reads.
It was messy. It was
messy.
Multiple typos. It's a bad episode. I don't know. We got Tuccrr to carry us. It's fine.
But you know what was not sloppy and not messy? Having Tuccrr as our guest this week. So as we bring this episode to a close, I just want to say, Tuccrr, thank you so much for joining us this week. And you are definitely in the elite sort of guest tier here, the sort of S tier repeated guests. The sort of club, the inaugural member was Bootman, and you have sort of continued the tradition of our awesome frequent guests. So we're incredibly grateful to have you every time you're on.
Thank you guys so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. I love being able to talk at this kind of like, not like level, but like this like way about Snap in such a way to really just bounce ideas off of each other. I think is really great and helps other people hopefully also brainstorm new ideas themselves. And all the content on this channel is so beneficial to help understand the game better, or even have your own decks even featured to kind of, I love that Glazer shouts out every single person that he interacts with or collabs with. It's just really great. And Glazer really helps carry this community. And Roy, you really do help him as well with you guys doing this podcast together.
Well, that definitely warms my heart. And what also warms my heart is that I get to do this with Aaron nearly each and every week. So, Aaron, thank you so much for joining me this week.
Thanks for having me. Peace and love, everybody.
All right, friends, that brings us to the end of another episode of Snap Judgments. We will, be back next week, Aaron?
No, next week, yes. The week after, we got to figure something out.
All right.
I'm going on vacay. Tuck will be doing a video, right?
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. I have, this is normally the goodbye is going to go a little long because I have something controversial that I'm going to say here at the end, which
I
is
was not warned.
This is going to go up on Friday. So I'm going to say something really important. Go Birds. All right, friends. Stay safe.
Oh, Eagles.
Make good choices like rooting for the Eagles on Sunday and keep on snapping.